Morning everyone, it's Canadian Carp Anglers of Ontario with a new video on how to prepare cured corn. A lot of you who fish for carp probably use corn, or I wouldn't say you probably would, I say 100% you would. We all know that corn is a great bait here in Southern Ontario, and one of the best flavors to use is pineapple. So I've got a few syrups here. One's from Mainline. The other one that you could use is one from Cool Runnings. This is something that I pick up from Food Basics. I got it on sale for $2.49, which is a great deal. They got other flavors like banana, coconut, vanilla, rum, all kinds of flavors. And also have some food coloring. Red seems to be working really well. My favorite being yellow. I'm going to be using the giant corn. These are from Peru. I also picked these up a while back from Food Basics. Some stores carry them, the Food Basics. Some don't. It's hit and miss. So if you do see it and you're going to be preparing your own corn, I would pick up a few bags, because if you go back, it might not be there again. I've got here 2 pieces of corn, this one being soaked, this one's still dry, and you can see the difference in size. So it does suck up a lot of water. What I did was I got a bowl, I put in 2 handfuls, and I let it soak overnight in boiling water. It would be best to keep it for 48 hours. So if you do have the time and you're going to prepare this, still being cold, not really carp season, I would prepare this ahead of time to get best results. What you're also going to need is mason jars. These you could buy. I don't recommend you buying these. I'm a big fan of salsa, so these jars seem to be the best for me. They're the ideal size. A jar like this would probably last you 5 to 6 months, depending on how much you fish and how much you use corn. I usually use corn with boilies. I tried corn alone, and giant corn's been working for me, so I've been preparing this for over 4 or 5 years now, and I'm letting you guys know how it's done. In other words, I'm letting the cat out of the bag, my secret on how to prepare cured corn. So let's get started. I'm just going to get everything ready, and I'll be back with you shortly on explaining how things are done. See you soon. Okay, so here we got the pot. I've put the corn in, full temperature, high heat. Want to get the water to boil, and once the water starts boiling, lower the temperature to get your corn simmering. What you want is a slightly firm corn, not soft, and what's important in this process is you do not want your corns to crack open. If you have not soaked your corn long enough, your corn will crack in the boil process. So I would recommend you start again. Use that corn as, free offerings, but your corn should not be cracking open. And I will show you what the consistency that you're looking to get should look like in order to cure your corn for hook bait. So high heat, get the water boiling. Once the water boils, lower the temperature, get it to simmer. So let's get this going, and I will be back shortly to explain the process further. See you in a bit. So, as you know, in Southern Ontario, and I would say probably around the world, pineapple has been a flavor that's been working really well. Today I'm going to be using a little bit of Mainline syrup. I'm going to use sticky baits, pineapple and butric, and to give it a little bit of a twist, I'm using Scent from Heaven from Baitworks. The food coloring I'll be using today is yellow. I prefer yellow over any other color, and basically you could use your own imagination to mix things up. You could get creative. You never know, you might come up with a flavor that basically catches fish after fish after fish. So I'm going to be using mainline syrup, sticky baits, pineapple and butyric. The choice of food coloring will be yellow, and I'll be adding a little bit of scent from heaven to get a little bit of a twist in the aromas that I'm using today. I'm going to be using a Tostitos salsa jar. So what you want to basically do is get all the aromas or flavoring that you want to be using into the jar, and probably fill it up to here. You don't want to fill it up all the way to the top. Reason being is once you put your corn in, you want your corn to be soaked in that juice. And as I mentioned earlier, in the boil process, when you've got the lid on, you're going to be creating a vacuum that'll allow the aromas to suck into the corn. What's important for this project is I've got two types of preservatives. One's a jam fix. Basically, it's a preserve that you could use. The other one is natrium benzoate. Now, I'm not a chemist, but all these are preservatives. You don't want to use much. If you use a lot of this, it will give it a bitter taste, and the carp will notice that. So your bait won't be effective. Preservatives are very important because once you open the jar and you're using your bait, basically you're going to have 4 or 5 days before it goes sour, and you don't want to be using that. It's not going to be a fish catching bait. If anything, it'll put the fish off. So you're going to be needing some sort of preserve, jam preserve, pickling preserve, and I'll show you how much you're going to have to put in, the right amount in a jar. So as you can see, the water is boiling, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the temperature to get that to simmer. As you can also see here, the corns are starting to puff up, which means they're sucking in the water. I will explain, you're not going to use this water at all. You're going to have to drain out the water. The reason being is you want to get the aromas in there, not the water, to have an attractive hook bait. So we'll let the corn do its thing, and I'll be back shortly on explaining the process as we go ahead. So hang tight, we'll be back soon. So I've got my my spoon here. It's a teaspoon, and you can see how much of the preserve I've put inside. That's all you need. Anything more than that, it's going to get bitter. It's not going to be an attractive bait. So you have to be careful with how much you use. That'll be enough to preserve your bait. The ones I've used usually last me 2-3 years without any issues. I've got bait from 5-6 years ago. I usually do this in the winter to cure my cabin fever and get ready for the season. I mean, you know, doing the right thing at the right time helps you save time to get out and fish more. So that's basically all you need, and you're going to mix that into your liquids. What I've done is I've put the Cool Runnings aroma, or the food flavoring, which is right there. That's my Cool Runnings pineapple. So a whole jar of that has gone in, and then I've got my mainline syrup. I've put 3 squirts of that, along with 10 drops of the scent from heaven, and 10 sprays of my sticky pineapple and butyric. As I said, this is your project. You could do whatever you like. What's important about this is you do not, put more than what you require in terms of preservatives. So get creative, do what you like. You might come up with a bait that, works best for you, for your waters. So we're going to get back to watching the corn. I'm going to just mix that up in my liquid, and I'll get back to you with explaining on how the process continues. See you in a bit. Okay, so my corn's been simmering in the water for roughly 20 minutes, and I'm just going to show you a kernel of corn. So that's the consistency you want. The corn's soft, but not very soft. It hasn't cracked open. So the soak process has worked. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into my flavoring, which is right here. Let's see. So as I said, you don't want to take the juices. You just want to take the corn itself. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back shortly. And this is the end product. So as you can see, my corn is topped up with all the juices, the preservatives inside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this jar and we're going to put it in the pot and bring that up back to a boil. So what I've done is I filled my pot back with water, temperature's on high, and going to bring the water back to a boil, and I will be putting my corn inside to boil. The reason for that is you're going to create a vacuum, the lid's going to pop down, and you're going to leave that for a week. The longer you leave it, the better it is. As I said, I've got corn that's 3-4 years old. I do make them in big batches. I share them with my friends, and it's good to have. I rather use my own bait. The joy of catching fish with your own homemade bait is really good. So I'm gonna get this going, and as soon as the water's coming to a boil, I'm gonna put it in the pot and continue the video. So stay tuned. So my water's come to a boil. I placed the jar inside the pot. I'm gonna boil this in there for another 10 minutes. And after you take it off the heat, what you'll notice happening is you'll suddenly hear a pop noise. And that's the cap getting sucked into the jar because of the vacuum. And that's when your bait's gonna start sucking in all the juices. So we're gonna let that boil in there for the next 10-15 minutes. And I'll be back to explain further. Just to recap, all the ingredients can be locally purchased. I buy the Cool Runnings, pineapple flavor, and the white Peruvian corn from Food Basics here in Ontario. If you do find the corn, my recommendation is buy more than what you need, because once they run out, they have a tendency not to restock the shelves. Don't know why, that's just the way it is, so you're going to have to look for other areas to find it. Food preservative that I've used is human grade, so you could use any sort of jam or pickling preservative. Food coloring, again, human grade. I like yellow, that's worked best for me, so I stick to it. And I will be putting a post at the end with all the ingredients and where they could be purchased from. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. So this is the final product. The corn's in the juice, in the jar, and pretty soon, I don't know if you can see this, you see the little dome on the cap, that's eventually going to get sucked in, and it's going to go inwards, meaning the vacuum's done and the juices are going to get sucked into the corn. I'm not going to be using this for a while. It's going to go in the basement. I'm going to date it, write down on it what flavors I've used, and it's going to be probably a couple of weeks before I use this, and I'm sure it's going to be a definite fish magnet. So thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. I'd like to share my information, what I know, help others become better anglers. And for me, this is a passion, which I enjoy doing. Thanks again, and thanks for watching another episode of Canadian Carp Anglers. And stay tuned for more informative and educational videos. Have a great day, guys. Good luck. Cheers.